Welcome back, guys, to another Clash Royale video, and today we're trying out this Hog Rider Witch strategy that I came up with this morning, and I've actually been doing pretty well with it. I'm currently sitting under 3,200 trophies as a free-to-play level 8 player, which is pretty good in my opinion. Now, one of the greatest things with this deck right here is all the cards are fairly flexible. They work great on defense as well as offense, and there's a ton of different plays you can make with this deck right here. So for example, you can use the Hog Rider with some Goblins to attack, or you can use the Witch with the Valkyrie, or even the Valkyrie and the Hog Rider. So there's a ton of different plays you can make with this deck right here, which is a great thing, because some of the strategies that I've been trying out recently, sometimes you can get stuck with a deck or with a hand where you can't really make the greatest of plays, and that kind of sucks when that happens. So having a deck with a bunch of flexible cards is pretty cool. Now, one of the weaknesses with this deck right here is against the Balloon card. It doesn't really have the greatest air defense. So if you guys are facing a bunch of balloons where you're at, you might want to consider throwing in the Musketeer instead of the Valkyrie, and that should help out a little bit. Anyways, I do have some replays to show you guys, so let's go right to that, and at the end I'm going to finish off with a live battle for you all. So here we are, guys, with the first replay. We're actually facing a level 9 in this battle inside the Legendary Arena. And right off the start, he's going to use the Spear Goblins to try and do some chip damage to my tower, and I end up using the Valkyrie to take care of those Spear Goblins. Now, because I spent more Elixir on defense than he spent on attacking, I am going to try and set up a counter push here with that Valkyrie, and watch what he does right here. He drops that Elixir Pump right in the middle there, but because of the positioning, I will be able to sneak in the Hog Rider and go straight to the tower and do some damage to that tower. Now, one of the reasons why I was able to use that Hog Rider and go in and do some damage to the tower was because I used a technique called the Pig Push strategy, where normally the Hog Rider would have been distracted by that Elixir Pump in the middle, but there's a technique you can use where you place down the Hog Rider and another troop right next to it, and it'll actually push the Hog Rider off to the side, forcing the Hog Rider to path towards the tower instead of the Elixir Pump. And now right here, he's got a Golem as well as a Wizard marching into my base. I'm going to try and defend here with that cannon, distracting the Golem. And the Witch actually does a pretty decent amount of damage to that Golem with the bunch of skeletons doing damage. And overall, we did a pretty good job defending there. We still have a Valkyrie as well as a Witch alive. So I'm going to try and set up a counter push here. Now, unfortunately, that Valkyrie does die pretty quickly to those minions, but the Witch will finish them off. And right here, I'm going to do another Pig Push with that Hog Rider as well as some Goblins. And even though he did drop down the defensive Barbarians, which are normally a pretty good counter to the Hog Rider was able to get 2 hits off with the help of that Zap spell. So his tower is all the way down to 906 health right here. So overall, things are looking pretty good, but in the next few moments here, I make a huge mistake on defense, and he's actually going to do a pretty decent amount of damage to my tower because of it. So right here, we have the cannon down in the middle, which should distract any Golem that he tries to drop down. So right there, he drops the Golem on the side of his base. I'm going to drop my Witch way in the back behind my Crown Tower. I don't want her getting too far ahead, and I want to give her some time to spawn out some Skeletons, which really help add up the damage against that Golem. Now right here, the Wizard is a little bit too far back over that bridge there, and I really wanted to use the Valkyrie to take out that Wizard, but unfortunately I dropped it a little bit too early, and the Valkyrie ended up being distracted by that Golem, and as a result, the Wizard survived. And because of that, he was able to build up a pretty strong push right here. And at this point in the battle, guys, I kind of thought that I had lost, or I was at least going to lose that tower because of that mistake. But we actually didn't do too bad. My tower is all the way down to 630 health. So all we really have to do is try and defend here for the next few moments, and then try and sneak in the Hog Rider 1 or 2 more times. So there he goes again with the Golem. Now, fortunately this time, the Wizard ended up walking in front of that Golem. So I am going to use that Valkyrie to take him out. And once again, the Witch is doing a pretty decent job against that Golem. The Witch is actually a pretty decent counter against the Golem card, guys, if you guys are having a hard time against the Golem, just because all of the small little skeletons do a pretty decent amount of damage over time. And so right here, we've got a pretty strong counter push going on. We had 2 Witches down, as well as a Valkyrie. And notice the positioning of the Elixir Pump. Because it is a little bit too far off to the left, I will be able to do another Pig Push. But unfortunately, just at the last second, he dropped down some Barbarians right in front of my Hog Rider, which forced him to path towards the center and be distracted by that Elixir Pump. But fortunately, he was able to sneak past that Elixir Pump after it was destroyed and do some damage to that tower. So overall, it wasn't too bad of a push. So right now, we're 30 seconds left in overtime. His tower is all the way down to 237 health. And right here, we're going to go in for the final push with that Hog Rider. The Hog Rider is going to sneak past everything and get the final hit on that tower, taking it out, giving us the 1 crown victory. Anyways, let's go to the next replay here. So here we are, guys, with the next replay. We're facing another level 9 here, and spoiler alert, I don't actually win this battle, but I wanted to show you guys anyways. Now later on in the battle, you'll see that the only reason I didn't win this battle is because my opponent is a higher level than me. If he was a level 8 like me, I would have actually won the battle. And that's actually one of the more frustrating situations in this game, is when you don't win a battle specifically because your opponent is a higher level. So right here, unfortunately, the Hog Rider is way at the back of my card rotation, so I won't be able to do a pick push technique, but I am going to go in with the split push of the Barbarians as well as some Spear Goblins. Going to do some damage to that Electro Pump, but overall not really get too much accomplished. And now right here, I dropped the Valkyrie way in the back, which really wasn't the greatest decision. I should have kind of dropped her behind the Golem to hopefully take out that Princess as well. Now he drops the Poison Spell, but fortunately the Witch has a decent amount of health and doesn't actually die to one Poison Spell. And watch this, guys. She will help finish out that Golem, and overall he didn't do too much damage to my tower, only bringing it down to 1700 health, so it could have been worse. And now right here he drops down these Tombstone, which I really haven't seen used a lot recently, so I was actually surprised to see somebody using the Tombstone. Now unfortunately, just at the last second, the Witch dies, and she didn't even get any hits off on that Tombstone. I was really hoping she would, so I can go in later on with the Hog Rider. But right here, watch what I do right here. I am going to use the pick push technique that I keep talking about and sneak that Hog Rider in all the way to that tower. And I'm actually going to do a pretty decent amount of damage to that tower, bringing it all the way down to 1500 health. Now without that pick push technique, guys, the Hog Rider would have been distracted by that Tombstone. And right here, he's got a level 4 Dark Prince coming in. The cannon is actually a pretty good counter to the Dark Prince, guys. So if you're having a hard time against the Dark Prince, consider throwing in the cannon. Even if somebody's using a double Prince push, a lot of the times you can use the cannon to distract the Dark Prince, and then at the last second, drop down some cheap troops to distract the Prince. So right here, he makes a huge mistake. He drops down his second Elixir Pump behind his tower. So right there, I knew I had the opportunity to go in with the Hog Rider on the right-hand side. And with the help of the Zap spell, my Hog Rider is able to do a pretty decent amount of damage to that tower, bringing it all the way down to 420 health. So things looking pretty good here. But once again, he's got a level 4 Golem marching in my base. I'm going to use that cannon this time to distract the Golem, as well as some Barbarians behind it to do some damage. And now right here, he's got 3 minions damaging my Barbarians, and I don't really have the greatest answer towards that. So I'm going to try and sneak in my Hog Rider on the right-hand side, and watch what happens right here, guys. The Hog Rider gets a hit off, bringing that tower all the way down to 168 health. So at this point in the battle, guys, if he was a level 8, that tower on the right-hand side would have actually been destroyed, and I probably would have got the victory in about 5 seconds right here. But unfortunately, he is a level higher, so he has more health on his tower, which means we are in overtime right here. So at this point in the battle, guys, all I need is one more Hog Rider hit on that tower, and I kind of played it poorly, if I'll be honest here, because right here he's going in with that with the Golem, sorry, and I probably could have snuck in a Hog Rider on the right-hand side to take out that tower, but I was really worried about overextending on the right-hand side because I thought he had his Elixir Pump up, and if I did go in with the Hog Rider, he would have dropped down an Elixir Pump to distract it. So I was just really focusing on defending here. But looking back at it, I probably should have attacked on the right-hand side to take out that tower. So if you guys are, one of the greatest things you guys can do to improve your gameplay is watch your replays. So for example, watching this, I realized that I should have just focused on being aggressive on the right-hand side. So right here, he drops down the Electric Pump to distract my Hog Rider. Hog Rider is going to jump over the river and take it out, but unfortunately, at the last second, he will die and he will not get a hit off on that tower. So at this point in the battle, his tower is all the way down to 100 health, so we will take out for a draw. Now, if we were equal level, that tower would have been destroyed a lot earlier, and I would have had the 1 crown victory. Anyways, let's try and fit in a live battle here. So here we go, guys. Now, hopefully I don't lose this in front of you all, but we are facing a level 9 at 3,200 trophies. So if we can win this, actually, we'll probably go over the 3,200 trophy mark, which would be pretty crazy. So what do we have? We have the Hog Rider in our starting hand. He drops the Barbarians at the start. Going to go in on the right-hand side with just the Hog Rider and see what he does to counter. He's going to use the Minion Horde. We're going to zap that and get 1 hit off on that tower. And then we're going to use the Valkyrie to take out those Barbarians. Pull them off into the middle with the Valkyrie. And she should be a pretty good answer to those Barbarians. And overall, we got 1 hit off, and we defended pretty good. So not the best start, but also not the greatest. He drops the Electric Pump in the corner. They're going to do a slow push with the Witch way in the back here. and then probably use some goblins as well as a hog rider to back her up. So what else does he have in his deck? He has the princess. Going to drop some barbarians on the left and the hog rider on the right, and just be super aggressive. I always play a little bit more aggressive than I normally would when I'm doing these lab battles for some reason, which probably isn't the greatest thing to do when I'm playing this kind of deck, because he's probably going to have a pretty strong counter push here with those barbarians. So we're going to use the cannon here. And then once the princess comes over and blocks on, we're going to use the spear goblins to take her out. And unfortunately, the spear goblins are going to be distracted by those barbarians. And then those goblins should be able to finish her off, though. And he actually wasted an elixir pump right there, which is a pretty big mistake on his part, because that was like 5 elixir wasted for nothing. So he's going to drop one more princess way in the back there. I'm going to use the witch on the left-hand side, and then go in on the right with the hog rider. Now, what does he do? The witch should be a pretty decent counter to that. I'm gonna drop the cannon here, distract that. Do we get our own barbarians up yet? The Valkyrie in the back there. The Valkyrie should distract those princesses, allowing the spear goblins to take him out. And unfortunately, that giant might take out my tower. He won't. We're going to use a second witch to back up this here, and then go in once more with the hog rider on the right. Is he going to distract it with the pump? No, we're going to zap that and finish that tower off. Meanwhile, those 2 witches on the left-hand side should be able to do a pretty decent amount of damage. And we're going to use the barbarians right here to take care of that princess, as well as just put some offensive pressure on him. We're going to use the goblins here, as well as the Valkyrie in the back to take her out. And hopefully that giant doesn't get a hit off. And with 10 seconds left, we should be able to defend. Nope, he has the arrows. So that was the first time I used the arrow set, but I'm feeling pretty good. We might be able to win this anyways. So we're going to use a zap here. He just uses pump, so he doesn't have any counter ready for this. We're going to use the hog rider with the goblins. And drop some barbarians. Just play super aggressively for no reason. And he's going to use that zap spell to take out all my goblins. I'm going to drop down a second witch over here to take her out. Going to use my Valkyrie right here, and then the cannon to destroy him. So at this point in that battle, I'm just going to try and defend for the next 30 seconds or so and hold out for a draw, because this isn't looking good with all of these troops he has here. I'm going to zap all of this and do some damage. And unfortunately, I should have known that he was going to do that. So this is probably going to be a loss right here, guys. So anyways, it wasn't too bad. Can we hold out for a draw? Arrows won't kill it off. So there we go. We do hold up for the draw. That was pretty close, guys. I made a couple mistakes, which resulted in me not winning. Anyways, that's going to do it for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next video.